Hello everyone, welcome back to another Project Gladiator weather forecast. Today I am going to be covering the weather for June 2nd of 2023. Currently there is an enhanced risk for western Texas as well as a slight risk around that going into parts of Oklahoma and parts of New Mexico, but mostly staying around western Texas, as well as another marginal threat that extends all the way up to parts of Wyoming across western Kansas, Oklahoma, and western Nebraska, as well as a marginal threat that I probably won't cover too much for eastern Montana, as well as a marginal threat for the New England area that we don't really typically see a lot of. As for our threats, we do have a 5% tornado threat for that enhanced risk area, as well as a 2% for that slight risk area. For our wind threat, we do have a 15% with two areas of a hatch significant threat. What that means is there is a possibility of wind gusts of 50 knots or higher within 25 miles of each point here, as well as a 5% wind threat for that marginal threat. We don't have a wind threat for the northern marginal threat, but we do have a wind threat for the other marginal threat. As for our hail threat, we do have a 5% for the eastern Montana threat, as well as a hatch significant 30% hail threat for the enhanced risk. What that means for the hatch significant threat is the possibility of hailstones of 1 inch or higher within 25 miles of a point. Around that, there is a 15% hail threat and a 5% hail threat for that marginal threat. As for a hail threat of 5% for the eastern Montana threat, and there is no hail threat for the New England area, but we could see the possibility of small to medium hail up in that direction. Taking a look at our pivotal weather models, we do have that low pressure system that has settled into the Rockies here, beginning to rotate with cyclone genesis. Further down south, we do have increasing mid-level flow, with mid-level flow in the 40 to 50 knots, which is going to bring wind shear that could potentially be higher than what we saw yesterday along those outflow boundaries. But then further up north for that marginal threat in Montana, we do have a downwind flow of 30 to 20 knots, so it's probably not going to provide all that much of strong wind shear to the area to supply a tornado threat. So again, probably no tornado threat. Back towards the New England area for that marginal threat, we do have a shortwave trough that is moving out of Canada to help trigger some severe weather development for probably today and probably a little bit of early Saturday too. It's not going to last a whole long, but it will bring temperatures in the 40s for the New England area, mainly in that marginal threat area for Maine and New Hampshire and Vermont, possibly Massachusetts as well in that Boston area. You guys are going to be experiencing some significantly colder temperatures than what would be typical for these summer months, so keep that in mind going into Friday and Saturday. Taking a look at our dew points, we have dew points that are mostly in the low 60s to mid 60s, as well as dew points that can be found in some places in the upper 50s, but mostly in the low 60s to mid 60s. Strong southwesterly flow is also going to help develop a little bit of a dry line to the west of this of the storm development area. This is going to help aid with storm development over the next few hours, along with the shortwave trough that is moving through the area. With whatever lapse rates, we could possibly see Cape values that are in the 250s, possibly up to the low 3000s in some areas. Taking a look at the lapse rates, we do have pretty strong lapse rates in the 8s to 7s, and possibly the weak 9s in some areas, but weak 9s are probably unlikely, but in the 8s and 7s is going to be sufficient enough with dew points in the low 60s to mid 60s for Cape values that could possibly be reaching the 3000s in some areas, but mostly staying around the upper 2000s, but we definitely could see Cape values that do reach the 3000s in some areas. Taking a look at the instability, we get exactly that. We get Cape values that are in the upper 2000s to possibly the 3000s in some areas, and even some simulated values of the 4000s. I think 4000s is going to be a little bit of a stretch. I don't think we're going to see cape values in the 4000s, just in the possibly the mid 3000s in some isolated areas, but mostly in the low 3000s to upper 2000s, somewhere in the 2700 range to the 3000s range, possibly the mid 3000s again. What this is going to do is fuel the possibility of tornadoes with whatever wind shear we have, as well as the possibility of some large to very large hail and some strong damaging winds with those very strong lapse rates that we had. Taking a look at the wind shear that is going to be provided from the shortwave trough moving through the area, we get wind shear with values in the 30 to possibly the 40 knots in some areas. There are some simulated values which are probably just a little bit of contamination from the surrounding environment of the 50s. It's likely going to stay mostly in the 30s to 40 range. This strong wind shear is going to allow for the possibility of multiple tornadoes today, as well as with that very strong instability to help, again, fuel the possibility for many tornadoes today. Taking a look at the surface instability, we get tons of surface instability across much of the Texas Panhandle. What this is going to do is help aid the tornadic possibilities, as well as help aid the possibility of some very large hail. Overall, again, I'm still uncertain about forecasting with a 3-kilometer cape, but I have a feeling that this surface instability is going to help aid with tornadic development, as well as the possibility of some very strong hail, as well as probably some very strong wind gusts as well. I think the SPC was issuing the possibility of wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour. That is very strong wind gusts. So, if you live in the enhanced risk area, I don't think now is the time to go out and get shopping done. You want to stay home today, because if we have the possibility of many tornadoes today, possibly some lower end to possibly mid-level tornadoes, which could be possibly pretty violent. Today, again, is not the day you want to go out and get shopping done. Again, even if we don't get all that much of a tornadic possibility, which we probably will, if we don't get multiple tornadoes today, there's still going to be that very large hail. So I do not suggest you go out and get shopping today or go out and have fun. Today is the day that you want to stay home because of the strong, severe weather today. Now, let's take a look at the disturbance in the tropics. The disturbance in the tropics that was a low-pressure system has developed into a tropical storm, Tropical Storm Arlene. It is moving southward at towards Cuba at 40 knots or 5 miles per hour. This is not going to cause a lot of destruction or severe weather to the United States in any way. It's not going to directly impact the United States, I should say. It will cause some severe weather to be ejected across the Florida Peninsula, but it's not going to hit it directly. This storm is expected to move southwards towards Cuba. I don't know where it's going to go after that. It's probably going to continue towards Cuba, and I will keep you guys posted on it as this develops. Currently, its maximum sustained winds are 40 miles per hour. Or 35 knots, and again, moving south at 5 miles per hour towards Cuba. Now that I've told you the weather, please go down to the description and check out the socials for Project Gladiator, and join the Discord for any updates on Project Gladiator, or if you just want to hang out and talk about weather, future weather, or any ongoing events with weather. The Project Gladiator Discord server is a perfect place for that. It's also the hub for anything Project Gladiator related, and hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow with another forecast.